Hello, everyone. I'm David Blackmon. Well, welcome to the newest episode of Energy Impacts. I am here today with one of the great energy experts of our time, Robert Bryce, the great Robert Bryce, who's done so much fantastic work related to the energy transition and cataloging local individuals and local governments disputes with wind and solar arrays over the past several years. And I'm also with a very special guest whose efforts tie right into what Robert has been doing. And that is Cheryl Lane, who is from Williamsburg County, South Carolina, and is fighting an epic battle against a massive solar farm that has been, is actually already, I guess, in the early stages of being constructed on 4,000 acres of what used to be forest country and has now been clear cut adjacent to her own property. Cheryl, how are you today?
I'm pretty good. Glad to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us. And Robert, you doing good in Austin?
I am fine, thank you. I'm very fortunate in my life, but yes, solar, big solar. As you know, I've just finished a short documentary called Sunblock, the global fight to save farmland from big solar. And so what, Cheryl, when David told me about what you're facing, it rhymes with what I'm seeing all around the world. This isn't unique to South Carolina or Texas or anywhere. It's happening all around the world. Local people are saying, we don't want these massive solar projects in our neighborhoods.
Yeah, Cheryl, talk about what's happening there on this property. Let's just set the stage and tell us, how long this has been going on and what the status of everything is right now.
Okay, and I'll just put a disclaimer out there. If I talk too much on one topic, just say, okay, cut that and go to something else.
Okay.
Okay, I would say for sure I've been researching this since November the 1st, 2023, when my daughter came home from a church event and said, Mom, you will never guess what they're planning to do behind their house. So that set me on the journey to research every tidbit, every person, every document that I could find that had anything to do with this tract of land, which is or was historic West Vaco timberland. Inca/IKEA bought this property kind of sort of somewhere around 2019. We're trying to nail down exactly what happened after West Vaco sold it. But at any rate, it was a 58.
West Vaco was a timber company? Is a timber company?
Okay. Right. Of this particular act that's involved with IKEA.
Yeah.
But at any rate, it was part of a $58 million tri-county land sale that we can trace back as far as 2019. But at any rate, I began to try to speak out at county council. I went to see my county supervisor. Sometimes they would let me speak, sometimes they wouldn't.
Yeah.
So I turned to the newspaper I sent in letters to the editor, op-eds, whatever I could try to do to get the word out there. But when you think about it, Williamsburg County is 934 square miles with a decreasing population. So we're basically rural. We're basically African-American in nature, in ethnicity. And we qualify for everything in terms of federal grants and funding. Now, you guys know how that ties in. I don't.
Well, if I can jump in for just a second, what you're saying, Cheryl, rhymes exactly with the reporting that I've done on this, which is that these projects, whether it's wind or solar, they are always targeted for low-income neighborhoods, and low-income regions. You never see big projects like this in Malibu or in Martha's, in Nantucket, although they are building offshore wind off Nantucket or, Westchester County. They don't try to put these projects into wealthy neighborhoods. First, because I know they know they're gonna face stiff opposition from well-funded opponents. Second, and this I think is obvious too, is that generally speaking in rural areas like yours, the land is cheaper and cheaper to lease. But it's also a very clear point that that these projects have to go into rural areas where local folks don't have a lot of money. They may be land rich, but they're often cash poor, and they don't have the resources, and or they don't know who they're facing, and many times it's multinational corporations. So again, what you're seeing here is with IKEA, a foreign company, trying to use solar as a way to say, look, we're green, we're concerned about climate change, and yet the environmental impact, as you say, 4,000 acres. I don't know how I can do the quick math. That's over, roughly 4 square miles. It's incredible that this is called environmentalism, but it has been lost in this frenzy of climatism.
Well, may I respond to that?
Yeah, sure.
What I have found through all of my research is when they submit a purchase power agreement as Inca/IKEA doing business as Kingstree West 115 LLC, the do purchase power agreement with this company, when you add up the 8 tracts of land that they want to use, it totals 4,300 acres. But in South Carolina, to come before the Public Service Commission, the Utility Siting Act says that anything over 75 megawatts has to get a certificate of environmental compatibility, public necessity, and convenience. So guess what they flew this one in as?
multiple projects that fit just under the threshold.
Yeah.
Well, the first one is 74.9.
Yeah.
So what happened was I hired a helicopter. Can I say a bad word? Because I was damn tired of what I saw happening in my backyard. And so I kept telling DHEC, I said, something's wrong. The land disturbance permit is not right. They say they only want to disturb 19.2 acres. Something's wrong. So I had an environmental consultant pro bono because I have no money. And he said, Cheryl, order a stop action on that track. So I did. So it put them behind probably 6 months. So I know they're pissed about that.
I'm sure they are. That's a lot of money. Yeah.
So what happened was that 74.9, I actually challenged that last week to the Public Service Commission. It's docket, if you want to look it up, Robert, it's docket 2023-140E. So you can see everything that's in there about the track behind my house, which is basically nothing except for a purchase power agreement and a little bit of emails back and forth. But something very strange happened. And I'm so glad that I've got you guys that know all this lingo, because just before I submitted my challenge to the 74.9, somebody else sent an email about this particular site in another docket. And I'm trying to figure out how this same site can actually be in 2 dockets. So the other docket number in the Public Service Commission, I'm pretty sure, but I can verify that. I think it's 2023-24-E. And guess what that is? That's the actual FERC application. And if I am correct, and I'm 99.9% sure that I am, because Clemson trained me to be a good researcher, then that FERC application is incorrect, because Kristen Resar, right here in my intervener pro se notebook, well, I won't get into all of her oral testimony, but she signed
if I can interrupt here, Cheryl, and what I'm going to say, look, I admire your courage, and I know you have, I can tell when you talk about this, how committed you are. What I can tell you is that you're not alone. You're unique, but you're not special. And I don't mean that to mock you, but I can't tell you how many dozens of people, many of them women like you, working from their kitchen tables, trying to figure out what's happening. And what you're telling me rhymes with all of these other stories, whether it's wind projects, battery projects, offshore wind, onshore wind. It is often women just like you, not always women, but predominantly, who are sorting through this thicket of information, battling against often a multinational corporation. And IKEA, of course, is what are they, Norwegian? I think that's right.
Netherlands.
Aren't they? I don't know.
Netherlands.
Sweden, I think. Yeah, I think
Netherlands.
it might be Sweden. Whatever it is, a foreign corporation backed by huge amounts of money with fancy lawyers from big law firms and some of the best lobbyists and some of the best landmen and environmental scientists and advocates that you can buy. And I just looked up Kings Tree West. Yes, it's 249 megawatts is the planned project. And there's no concern in any of this for what the actual impact is to people like you. And in fact, we, in my recent documentary, Sunblock, we interviewed Thomas Doskasil, whose property was surrounded on 3 sides by 3.5 square miles of solar panels. So first, I just want to say I can hear the pain in your voice, and I completely empathize with you. And I want to tell you that I'm very familiar with your story, and I'm sorry for what's happening to you, because it's this kind of big corporate push for these kinds of projects, I think, is anathema to the environment. And there's no concern for the local neighborhoods. It's all about climatism.
Yeah, this is really kind of a standard business plan, right, for the solar industry.
Keep it secret, keep it difficult to understand. Don't tell the locals what's really happening.
Right.
And if people get in their way, they are going to to roll over them, and they're going to hide the ball. They're not going to be forthcoming about the scale of the projects. They're going to do, as you said, Cheryl, divide it up into little parcels to navigate the letter of the law by, or the intent of the law by changing it and obscuring what they're doing. But yes, I see Inca here. I guess owns IKEA. It looks like
they're
to
the
me.
parent company. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Cheryl, I've got an interesting reader comment that I think probably I know what your answer is going to be, from Rodney McInnes. Cheryl, they're now feeling pain from blocking them. I'm not saying anyone should feel compelled to move, but what if you offered them the sale of your home for 5 to 10 times the value so you could move anywhere you like? I suspect you're not anxious to be run off your land, are you?
Well, I have an 11-year-old granddaughter, and she has begged me not to sell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, so.
I'll add this, Cheryl, and I can tell, and I understand the rationale behind the question, but I also know how important my home is to me.
Yeah.
And I'll just repeat what I've said. I empathize with as my mother would chastise me, she was a grammarian, but where you're at. I empathize with your plight, and I can tell how heartfelt your attitude is on this. I will also add, and I'm not guaranteeing you're going to win, but what I have seen when fighting this, what I have seen over and over and over again is that committed people can win if they, and it takes a long time. And the other side, you're out moneyed, you're out lobbied, you're out, mediated, you're out, out lawyered, but local folks can beat these projects. So I will also make that observation to you.
Well, I will say this. My dad was a World War II vet in the China, North African campaign, and he didn't raise quitters. He came home from World War II deaf and with fungus that he picked up during monsoon season in Burma. And I have his spirit within me. So I'm not a quitter. And I told my county council that night when I stood up, and I asked out loud, does anybody in county council or legal counsel have knowledge of IRI Forest Investments, which is what they were called at that time, trying to do solar on tract map 45046,003? And nobody would respond to me. So I sent him a FOIA request, got 9 pounds of a box of information from high dollar lawyers. And my county is $36 million in debt. So where the hell are they getting all this high dollar lawyer money from? So that led me to a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit that I have currently going on. The King Street East, which is the 249 megawatt, is the one that I now have before the Supreme Court. So I am pro se before the South Carolina Supreme Court as an intervener because I asked for a rehearing based on certain criteria, and the Public Service Commission said, no, you didn't enter that as evidentiary hearing material, so we can't consider it. So I appealed, and it's now in the South Carolina Supreme Court.
Has
So
the
I have
Supreme Court
streaming-
agreed to hear the case, or is it
Yes.
just okay?
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Well, I'm at the stage. I hope the powers that be, this doesn't jinx it, but I asked for an extension yesterday for 30 more days to develop my initial brief. So I have that going on. I have the FOIA case going on. And if I could find the right law firm, I probably have class action lawsuits. I know I have a freedom of speech lawsuit because I continuously asked to speak in writing to my county council. And I was told the agenda is full. We have all the information that we need. Talk to the county lawyer about it, just over and over and over again during a critical period of time, because we had no solar ordinances, we had no zoning in place, and we currently still don't have zoning in place, which violated our comprehensive plan, which can be legally challenging if you don't follow the rules of a 23-year out-of-date comprehensive plan. And by law, it has to be updated every 10 years in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And ours was 23 years out of date.
So South Carolina has an Open Meetings Act, right? Does South Carolina have, but it doesn't have a public comment requirement in it? I know in Texas, there is a requirement that they allow time for public comment.
Okay, well, I want to answer you, but I'm not sure of the answer.
Okay.
And because I have that lawsuit outstanding, you can read it. I can tell you what I accuse them of. I accuse them of not using the word solar during the night of the public hearing. I accuse them of having open meeting violations. I accuse them of lots of different things, of which we have discovery until October the 1st. So I'm in the middle of that process of trying to tease things out. And one of the main things, and I'm just going to say this because everybody in my community knows it, they gave me documents that were not complete.
Yeah.
So if you don't give me the complete document that says who the investors are going to be, and you didn't sign and date it, then where is that document?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think my lawyer would, you know.
If I can jump in here. So Cheryl, you're representing yourself?
Yes, I had no money, and when I cannot be pro se for I think it's the Freedom of Information Act, because that's classified as a non-juried mediation style thing.
Right. Yeah.
And I knew that I didn't know the law well enough to fight a Freedom of Information Act case. So I do have a lawyer for that. But I have had to go around door to door and say, could you contribute to this? I have no money.
Yeah.
And some people.
Go ahead. Sure. Well, if I can just jump in for a minute, because, well, one, good on you. I mean, atta girl. Yeah. I mean, you got more grit than a sandpaper factory, girlfriend. That is, that's really, that's great. And let me make a couple of other quick points. So I looked up Census Bureau data. So in Williamsburg County, South Carolina, the median household income is less than $35,000. The median in the U.S. is $77,000, almost $78,000. So as you said, you're in a very poor county. So it's not surprising to me that your county commission, or I think it's county commission there, would say, oh, gee, more tax revenue. We're going to get more money. And they're seduced by these outsiders coming in, promising them the moon. Second, I didn't quite understand initially what you're saying. Is you're fighting Kings Tree West, but there's Kings Tree East and Kings Tree West. Those together are 500 megawatts. Although it looks like our 498 megawatts.
498,
instead of 500. But I think that the scale of what you're talking about here truly is stunning, because I've seen them myself about how big these projects are, and they create wildlife deserts, and that's what you're looking at having right next to your property, and this will diminish the value of your property. There's just simply no doubt about it.
Well, what happened was when I realized, see, I had a 45-minute conversation with a solar developer that is not public yet. But I'll tell you what he said when I asked. I said, Mr. Mears, are you going to do an environmental assessment for the property behind my house? No, Miss Lane. I said, well, why not? Now, he didn't realize I was a 7th grade science teacher for over 28 years. So I did understand what he meant when he said, that's just a monoculture. And I thought, like hell it is. That's got coyotes, fox, bear, owls, bees, and whatever. I just put it, kind of turned a deaf ear because, as they say, you can just learn a lot more if you, use honey rather than vinegar. So I said, do you mind if I record you, Mr. Mears? He said,
Yeah,
he said, well, we thought about getting you to sign a do not disclose statement. I said, well, I wouldn't have. So
if you don't, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
So look, I'm a reporter and I don't mind asking questions. So give us an idea. Cheryl, how old are you?
72 come December 25th.
So you're 71 now.
Yes.
And then about what's your annual income?
Do the math. My retirement from the state as a teacher and professor is $2,500 a month, and my Social Security is $15,000. So what's that?
So you're making about $4,000 a month. You're bringing in $4,000 a month, so roughly $48,000 a year before taxes.
Now, that's not counting my husband, but he doesn't. I've used his retirement to pay for filing fees and, stuff like that, postage, a new printer. So
right.
his retirement's gone.
So his retirement. So your husband's still alive. So it's the two of you living in your property.
Yes, basically.
Yeah. And so does he have any income? What is your combined income, or is that it, the $4,000 a month?
Okay. He makes $1,500 in Social Security, and that's it, unless he picks up some odd jobs with a farmer.
Gotcha. So $5,500 a month. So what is that? So you're $54,000, something like that a year. So you're slightly above the median in South Carolina, but would you consider yourself a wealthy woman, Ms. Lane?
No, I'm land rich, but I'm bank account poor.
And how many acres do you have?
I have 200 in my name.
Uh-huh. And in your name, and what does that mean?
That means that I have some in I have another 100 in a S2 corporation that I inherited from my dad. So I'm the sole stockholder. So roughly 300. And
all your property abuts the solar projects that are being built.
It either touches it or it will be affected by the stormwater runoff. In some way, shape, or form. Like I won't be able to cut my timber because it'll be too wet. So
yeah, that's a consideration a lot of people don't think of about these things. It's how it changes.
Well, and there was the case in Georgia where a neighbor on a solar project, this was a year or two ago, where the runoff was so enormous that they went to a jury verdict and they were awarded millions of dollars. In fact, I think it was tens of millions. Now, I hope you can stop it before it comes to that. And I know that jury verdict was later reduced, but it's yet another example of how adjoining, neighbors that have adjoining property to these massive alt energy projects are getting screwed. They're just getting screwed by the runoff, by the reduction in property value, by the glare, by the ruination of the neighborhood. And so, I've said it before, but I am, I don't know if I can help you, but I admire your grit, and I'm pleased to hear you're not going to quit, because It's people like you that can put a stop to some of this foolishness. But as you know, you're facing a formidable foe.
Yeah, we're working on a documentary. I'm Native American is part of my ancestry. It's all by oral history. But yesterday we did a segment with Channel 5 out of Charleston because oral history tells us that there's a Native American burial ground on that property. So I can send you the link to that, but here are the artifacts that were picked up. And we've been told that these have a very, very, very good chance of being shards from burial mound vessels.
Yeah.
So we're hoping the Black River Indian tribe, Chief William Goins, is in on the battle with me. And
Yeah, if you could just get an archaeological survey ordered for it.
right. But see that environmental compatibility certificate. Part of that is that you're supposed to go through SHPA, which is the State Historical Preservation Office.
Yeah.
Well, get this, Robert and David. King Street East, which is the 249, over in Neesmith, which is 40 miles from where I live. That's the one that I went before the Public Service Commission about, because I realized that I am my brother's keeper. And if I only fought the one in my backyard, that was not fair to the people across the way, and they were actually going to be on the docket. I was not. The one in my backyard was not going to be on the docket. So for 8 months, I fought through the Public Service Commission with proposed orders, replies to proposed orders, petition for rehearing. So all of that went on. But what I learned in the end is now helping me fight what is in my backyard. So
you're going to have a de facto law degree here, or maybe you already have one.
Yeah,
you're a practitioner already. But I did, so I did the math. Finally, I did the math in my head, which was wrong. So together with your husband, if, you're $2,500 a month, or actually $4,000, and his $1,500. So $5,500 a month works out to about $66,000 a year before tax. But you're both retired and dependent on fixed income.
Yes, and I did the last 7 years. I worked at Clemson University, and then I worked at Francis Marion University, which is a much smaller university close to home. When Mom turned 80, I left Clemson and came back to Williamsburg County. But
and what town are you in Williamsburg County?
It's spelled Greeleyville, GREELEYVILLE. There was obviously an old Mr. Greeley.
Yeah.
So it became the village of Mr. Greeley. But we are out in the sticks. I mean, actually, I think last time I checked, we had 2 ambulances on call at any time for our community, which has been a big problem for me because our infrastructure is not ready for this. I have put in requests to the SCDOT for traffic studies because Mr. Mears told me that there would be 300 to 400 workers per day for 6 to 8 months. And our community is not ready for that. We cannot handle it. Our EMS department cannot handle it. In fact, after I get off with you guys today, I'm going to write a letter to our county supervisor and offer my corner, which is the closest intersection to this monster, because somebody's going to get hurt, and it's going to be somebody's brother, son, child, grandchild. Somebody's going to get hurt, and there's just no way. We need a helicopter exit, and I'm going to just tell him, you can have my corner. I'm going to go stake it off because there's some post-traumatic stress for me because my little brother was hit and killed in that same community. And there was not even a decent ambulance during those days. So infrastructure is not in place. SCDOT said, oh, we're fully maintaining all 10 bridges on your road. Well, there's only 8.
And what's your, well, I'm sure this is now because you're intervening in these cases, Cheryl, what's your street address?
My daughter might not want you to give it out loud. She's
Okay,
so
well,
worried now.
okay, well,
We
we
can
can do
find
it after we
Yeah.
we can do it after we stop recording here. But I'm just looking at the map of Greeleyville. So roughly, though, if you're looking, I'm looking at Greeleyville and Keel Cemetery. You, what direction are you from? I'm going to be a little facetious here. Downtown Greeleyville. What direction from the city or the town are you?
All right, go to the crossroads of Mount Vernon Road and Highway 261. If you put in
Well,
Martin's Crossroads, are you in Google Maps?
Yeah.
All right, put in Martin's Crossroads.
Okay.
Did anything come up?
Martin's Crossroads, South Carolina. Oh, okay. So you're north of Greeleyville. Yes, I have Martin's Crossroads. So 261 and Mount Vernon Road. I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my corner. That's where I have a vegetable stand.
I gotcha. Okay.
Or had one.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and I can look this up and I'd find the maps of the solar project, but it looks like to the south of there's farming, active farming in that region. What are people, or I guess they're growing timber as well. What are the main agricultural products that come out of that neighborhood?
Corn, soybeans, and tobacco.
Gotcha. And timber.
Yes, they even cut and burned the trees behind my house, which is a DHEC violation. And I told them at DHEC, I said, no merchantable timber left that track. Now it left it by the tandem trailer loads on other tracks, but behind my house, no merchantable timber left. It was all burned.
Wow.
And they did not see, because they didn't have to get that environmental compatibility certificate. We have 2 species that were not documented. We have the spotted turtle, and yes, he was on that property, he or she. A neighbor found it. The construction worker must have seen him. He reported it to DNR, and DNR told him to put the damn turtle back. So the turtle is critically protected in South Carolina. And the other one that was not inventoried was the swallowtail kite, which in South Carolina is considered endangered. And my granddaughter and I were driving by the entrance to the IKEA project, and this is no lie. The swallowtail came down toward the windshield of my pickup truck and went back up. And I have my granddaughter on video saying, "Gee, mama, gee, mama, gee, mama, he's trying to tell us something." And I'm going, I know, what is he trying to tell us? And she said, I'm videoing, I'm doing a really good job. And I said, I know. So how do you tell people that you screwed up so badly? Because remember, it's a monoculture. Remember that.
Yeah.
It's a monoculture.
Yeah. I did look up as well. We were about Inca Group / IKEA. They're have been based in Sweden, but their headquarters is now in the Netherlands. So that was, I guess we were both right in terms of where they're based. But look, again, I've said it before, Cheryl, but you have a remarkable story. You have remarkable grit. And I hope that, what we're doing here and just talking about it helps get some visibility to your project and your fight, because as I said, it's it's very familiar to me. You're talking about 4,300 acres. That's almost 7 square miles. That is going to be clear cut and become a wildlife desert. And that was one of the things that I saw. In fact, the farmers and ranchers I talked to up near Troy, Texas, that was one of the first things we discussed was after these big projects go in, the wildlife becomes because they put fences and hurricane fences around the whole thing. The wildlife can't go through there. And so the amount of roadkill increased dramatically because foxes, possums, whatever in the neighborhood, coyotes, they end up having the routes that they had been using are no longer available, and they're being killed by motor vehicle traffic. So to me, these are the idea that this is pro-environment, I think, is just it's a joke. It's an anti-environment posture that's, just environmentalism has been thrown overboard because of climatism.
Yeah, one of the most irritating aspects of this is that if a natural gas company was coming in to put down a 6-acre pad to drill a gas well, Sierra Club and all these environmental groups would fly into your county. You'd be overwhelmed with all the protesters to do that. But you're going to occupy 4,000, you're going to clear cut 4,000 acres of forest land, put in a solar array, and no one can be bothered to say a word about it. It's really one of the great destructive, I think, societal trends in our time. And it's really unfortunate that you're kind of in the way of it and being impacted by it. I'm hopeful that people watching this podcast, folks, tend to be pretty smart people about energy and have a lot of connections in the business world. And somebody might know of a law firm in your area that might be willing to take on this battle on a contingency or pro bono basis. But who knows? But we can always hope that might be the case. If you want to, Cheryl, let people know how they can get in touch with you. If you want to give them an email address,
a website, whatever
website. Yeah.
All right. Do I type it somewhere?
No, just call it out, and we'll put it in the show notes when we publish the podcast.
Okay. I have a Facebook page called Black River Guardians of South Carolina.
Okay.
Black River Guardians of South Carolina. I have a friend who is also, he fights corruption at every level. He's a crime fighter no matter what. And his webpage, his Facebook page is Palmetto State Audit LLC.
Okay.
And
Palmetto State Audit LLC.
LLC. And he is calling out county councils. He is calling out state stuff. He has posted drone footage of what's going on in my backyard. And I would like to add one little tiny tidbit because I think it's important. The special revenue source tax credit agreement that my county signed with the company, whoever that is, mentions hydrogen battery storage and are we okay on the gas? And I'm like, okay, that came to me in the 9 pounds of FOIA material from the high-powered lawyers. I have not said that out loud to anybody because I don't know what to do with that information that my county council, that they agreed to hydrogen battery storage behind my house and they agreed to gas.
I have no idea. I'm with David. I have no idea what that means. I'll add one other quick point, Cheryl, and this an observation. It's not unique to me, but my friend Jesse Ossabel said this many years ago. He said, wind and solar may be renewable. They are not green. Yeah. And I think this is a classic example of what you're talking about here in a relatively poor county, and in fact, a poverty-stricken county, I think would be the more correct way to think about this. And near Greeleyville, a town of less than 400 people, and you as a small landowner, 300 acres would be big in most parts of the world, but still, as you said, you're land rich, but savings account poor. It's just yet another example of watching this for more than 15 years where big corporations are trying to Bigfoot local communities and force them to accept massive projects that destroy the local landscape. And they do it through intimidation, through extended legal battles that wear out their opponents. And I wish you the best. I really do. I think this is amazing. I think you're more grit than a sandpaper factory. I can, I'm amazed at how you're carrying on the fight. And, if I can do anything to help you, you let me know, because I think you have reason and you have your own, understanding of what's fair. And that's very powerful.
Cheryl, any parting words? We probably should. We're kind of run over time here, and I know
No,
our producers have
we're
other
we're
things today.
we're accepting ideas for the movie because I'm going to write the book. One movie title could be "Where's the Green?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could interject here, Cheryl, one thing that I've learned in doing, I've been at this media business for a while. You can make a short video and put it on Facebook and just show what is happening. Books are hard to write. They take a long time. You don't have a long time. You need to get something out now. And the more authentic you are, and I do this a lot. I was in Jacksonville yesterday. I did a short video from University of North Florida and did a 3-minute video and posted it on YouTube and elsewhere. And it's had several thousand hits talking about nuclear power. You could do the same thing with your iPhone or your mobile. Say, I'm Cheryl Lane. This is what's happening behind me, and make it short, and you're authentic, and you have a lot of power by doing that. And, and so the more you share that on Facebook and elsewhere to let people know what's going on, keep it short, keep it succinct, and explain what's going on. And you can do more than one. So you have the power of social media that I think you can leverage. So I'd encourage you to think about that as well.
Thank you.
Well, Cheryl and Robert, thank you both so much for doing this. I think this hopefully will be helpful. Folks, again, if you are aware of a law firm that might be willing and able to help in this effort, particularly in the case at the Supreme Court and the other bits of litigation that are going on here, please get in touch. You can get in touch with me and I'll forward the information to Cheryl, or get in touch with Cheryl herself at what is the Facebook page again?
It's called Black River Guardians of South Carolina.
Okay, I was about to say Black River Keepers, and I knew that wasn't right.
We do have a Winyah River Keepers.
Okay. Well, thank
good
you.
luck. Good luck to you, Cheryl. Yes. I mean it. Godspeed.
All right. I know there's one thing I want to ask Robert after we get off, but
okay, no problem. We'll hang around. We will hang around after we end this. But thanks everyone for watching, and please do, if you have any ideas, reach out, and let's see if we can help Cheryl in this battle. I will be back soon with another episode here, and that's